practitioner to EFT and Matrix, and also a read-on therapist and a licensed brain gym movement facilitator. So, why this topic is close to my heart is because life is out of control a lot of times because we try to control it. And I have also faced a lot of moments, and also I have learned how to say all is well. So, a mix of both the things. So, that's why this topic is really interesting and looking forward to everybody's viewpoint. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go to Joanne. Joanne, please introduce yourself and why is this topic when life is out of control so close to your heart? Thank you.
Hi, thank you everybody. It's lovely to join you again. I'm mental health trainer, life coach, CFT coach, and also on my own personal development journey. At the moment, as a mum to a 3-year-old, so that's a very good learning for not being in control, and also teaching me, I think, as a child, my parents and probably their parents before them had a much more controlling aspect over children, and nowadays I think we're learning to give our children freedom. So that's very real for me. How much should I be in control and how much should I be giving my son his freedom?
Oh, that's amazing. Let's go to Vasavi. Vasavi Kejriwal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here again. So I am a student of mental health, and mental health is really close to my heart, which is why I'm here. Which is why I also write poems, because I feel like that's the only way I can deal with my emotions sometimes. I think control is something to do with power. It's when we feel we need the upper hand in a situation, could be, or we only tend to control things around us or other people when we feel we don't have any control over our own life. And I feel like so it's all when someone is trying to control you, I feel it's more important to remember that they are the ones who are feeling they are lacking control, instead of feeling that you are the one who needs to be controlled.
What a
So
beautiful point. When people are trying to control you, they are actually out of control. Wow, how well said. Let's go to Dr. Rashmi Arora.
Good evening, everybody, and we are back again. Thank you, all of you, for giving me so much insights every day, and to all our viewers also. So, I'm Dr. Rashmi Arora from Delhi, and I am a homeopathic practitioner in Delhi. I'm a meta health trainer and I'm an NLP practitioner. I coordinate the mind body work. So, this topic, Jab life ho out of control, for me, it means chaos. When you are in chaos, what happens? Our universe started with the Big Bang theory. So a Big Bang happened and then the universe came. So when jab life ho out of control, it is that simulation of that Big Bang in everyday life which creates more for us. Thank you.
Wow. Let's go to Gopu sir. Gopu sir, if you can introduce yourself and why is this topic close to your heart? Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Gopu Raman. I am a consultant, coach, and a mentor to many companies, startups, as well as corporates. I help people scale up their business as well as improve in their working, especially with HR, human relations aspect of it. Uh, so, life is definitely out of control when you are not able to figure out what's happening. So it's a chaotic situation. Um, Generally, we are all control freaks. We want to control others, whether it be your family, your friends, or your very close peer group. So you want to control what's happening in the house. You want to control what's happening in the business. You want to control what's happening in your social life. So generally, we are all control freaks. But when somebody else does a counter attack, that's when life gets out of control. So then you have to probably jam on the brakes. If the car is going out of control, what do? You have to jam on the brakes and try to stop the chaos. So that is what is out of control life is all about. Yeah, my
Wonderful.
two bits on.
So beautifully, Gopu sir said that we all like to control others. In fact, I always feel that if we as parents and we as, as individuals had a way, then we would go into people's brains, unscrew it like this, change the wires, put it to our capacity, how we like it, fit it back again and say, this is how you need to react with me. So, reality, we don't want people in our life. We want yes, sir, in our life. We want people who will say yes to us. We want yes, masters. We want people to say yes to us for everything. And we want to have this, how do you say? Imagine if I had a lamp like this, which I would rub, and the genie would come out and would say, yes, what do you want? And I would say, I want to be the richest girl on this planet Earth. And then I'm the richest girl on the planet Earth. And then maybe I'll be happy for a few hours. But after those few hours, you might find me sad. You might still feel that something is not in control. I still need to fit in that one wire, maybe. That got loose, man. So, what else? I call another genie, come. And the genie comes out, and I say, now from here on, my husband will say yes to me all the time. And then it happens. And he says yes to me all the time. And then I don't like it again. So we seem to be fixing people and wanting them to do things that are comfortable for us. That's my experience. Let's go over to everybody here and ask them how are they feeling. So let's start with Joanne. Joanne, do you feel something like that we actually don't want relationships? We want people to say yes to us. You're muted.
Sorry, as you were telling the story, Kwaku was pushing me and trying to get my attention. So I think he's also trying to give us that message. I think increasingly, as I've been less wanting to please people, I've been wanting to form deeper relationships and more authentic relationships. And that feels like a really important journey at the moment, and one that's making me feel more connected to people. So I think actually to get away from this idea of the yes relationships into really truly being ourselves and allowing others to be themselves with us is really powerful.
Wow, that's amazing. What do you say, Rashmi Arora?
Anu, hearing your story, I understand that we as a human species rely on boredom. Boredom is something which helps us create more. When we get bored from one thing, we desire something else. And then when we create that, then we desire something else. Like in your story, she got bored of the money, then she got bored of her husband saying yes or no. And similarly, what I feel is the boredom is the key to everything. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Vasavi.
So I think control, I think it's all about big and small. It's about when you're feeling really small or putting someone in their place, because when you feel that you can control someone, you're implying that I'm bigger than you, or that I can, in your mind, in a way, it's some kind of superiority you're feeling. So because you feel it's okay to control that person, but you would not want to be controlled by them in the same way. So we are all very hypocritical in that nature, where we want something to be in a certain way, but then everyone has a different image in their mind of what they want that something to be like, which is why the control issue comes. And I also think the people who, like, we all do tend to want to control things in our life. It could be people, things, it could be your space, visually, your office space, your room, your house. I feel that comes because somewhere you have also maybe been controlled in some way, and that is why you're projecting it now on someone else. It's like the age old, I mean, I've never been married, but the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law story also, or the boss and the employee. The
Absolutely.
boss was once an employee, the mother-in-law was once a daughter-in-law. So I feel it's just a cycle that gets repeated, and if we break it, then we can break the control. issue.
How beautifully said.
Thank
What
you.
do you say, Sumita? Very well said.
I know what I've understood, and since listening to the panelist, I feel the management, the way you manage things, your perspective and others' perspective is very different. For you, you are managing things, and for the other person, you are controlling. So there's a very thin line between that. And like with me, it has happened many times. From my perspective, I'm just trying to manage and trying to give everything in a sequential manner, or in a nicely sequence manner. But somewhere the other person or the other, like sometimes it happens with my daughter only. She says, no, it's okay, I don't want you to do that. So I understand, and then I have to step back. So that's, I have always understood controlling more as like, there's a very thin line between management and control. So if you can understand and you become aware of it, so probably you can always be aware about it and always take a step back, because perspectives change. So if the other person is not taking that management in the terms of management, and other person is taking in control, so then you have to step back and be available, so you can just tell, or be there for the other person whenever it's required. That's my viewpoint.
Wonderful. Let's go to Gopusa.
Well, according to me, the perspective will keep on changing from person to person, because the environment, the circumstances would be different. So it will depend on who is controlling whom, and what you want to control. So there are multiple, uh, I would say, chords which are there within many people who are around you. So it could be family, friends, or other people in your workplace. Generally, what happens is when somebody is trying to control you, we call them boss. So, so in a workplace, typically, a boss will throw throw you and control you, and would like to be have an upper hand, and that's when you have issues, and you will always be having issues with the boss. Then you will tell that to your colleague. The colleague will tell somebody else. So it goes for a nice Chinese whisper. So everyone is on to kind of controlling home. Let me control my children. Let me control my colleagues. All these things go on. But the fact of the matter is that you are not actually building a healthy relationship when you are being a control freak. So it's better to flow with the waves rather than try to swim against the waves. That would what be my
Absolutely. So there is a little difference between being out of control and trying to control. So I would like people to really look at that. Being out of control is a little bit different from trying to control other people. So, in my view, being out of control means that there is something that's happening in my space that I cannot, either I don't have complete information of it, or my body is not in control. I'm not able to have maybe the things the way I could do them before, or I am feeling this. I know when just before my heart attacks, I know a time when I would fall unwell every time I would be sitting in the car. Every time my chauffeur would drive the car, and I would be maybe 30 minutes into the car, and I would start breathing funnily, and I seemed to be losing control at that time of my all the outlets in my body, and I didn't know how to kind of react. And I would often try at that time to control my body, control my senses, but it was completely useless. At that point, I felt so vulnerable and so helpless. And at that point, when somebody aids you, he stands or she stands in front of you like a little god, or somebody who you can really trust after that. Now, Can everybody over here on the panel throw a light on what's the difference between trying to control someone and when you're feeling completely out of control? So, Sumita, let's start with you.
Yes, Anul, like you said, there has been times in my life when I felt out of control. When I was very, I would say, young, and I got unfit. I was not medically, like physically, having a lot of pain and visiting a lot of doctors, and I would not know the reason. I didn't understand why. And one doctor cannot understand my pain, because that time I didn't have any information about the kind of information now I have, and I didn't understand any brain body connection. I would just tell what I'm feeling or suffering, and I was guided to even a mental health clinic, where they were asking me to do this Rorschach's ink block test. I still remember the day I was doing it, and I was so irritated and agitated and not understanding why this. I'm saying I'm having pain in my stomach, and these people are asking me to write and do a questionnaire. Are they crazy? And I overheard some doctor telling my mom, please send her to school. Because of pain, I was not going to school, and they said, if you don't send her to school, she will start enjoying this life. And I really wanted to go and hit that person. Why are you not understanding? I mean, I didn't have any control, because wherever my parents would take me, obviously they were also clueless about what to do. So wherever anybody would guide, homeopathic, allopathic, Ayurvedic, so that I really felt that it is something I cannot control. I was almost in kind of a depression, I would say. I would do little very weird things, and had very weird demands, because it was like absolutely out of control. So that was the most, I would say, difficult period of my life, for me also, and for my parents also. And on the contrary, when you say you want to control things, or when you're trying to do that, so where I, like I was discussing before, that where I try to do something, like my daughter, now she's growing up, and if I try to tell her things in a way, because I have some pre knowledge about how to learn, or how to do things in a way, or just this thing. So if I tell her once, or maybe even twice, so by the second time she would just stop me and say, it's okay, you've told me, either I'll do it or not do it. I'll tell you, okay? You don't try to control me. So I've heard this word from her, and then I just step back and say, oh, have I crossed the line? Did I really do that? So that is where you are trying to, do perfection, or do some few things for the other person, where you have a right perspective, but the intention would be even right. But somewhere the other person feel that you are coming in their space, so they don't want that.
Very
So
beautifully,
that's the difference.
very beautifully expressed. Rashmi, can you? I mean, hearing Sumita, it kind of reminded me of time when I and Rashmi were doing therapy, and I believe the further for Rashmi to be talking about. And it was very interesting when she said, "When I feel out of control, I want to be understood." So, Rashmi, over to you.
Anu, first of all, I'll bring in two, three things. What is control according to me? Control comes from an older English, which means how to check the accuracy of that particular thing, or in short, to verify. So in olden days, what they used to do is they used to actually maintain a control book, which was a duplicate book. So the first question which you put in was to, what do you mean when somebody else controls you, or you control somebody? So that is, we are actually checking the efficacy, or we are verifying that particular behavior, or that particular action, or that particular reaction of somebody. So, if I'm trying to put control on somebody, I'm trying to verify. Like if I'm trying to put control over my child, whether you have studied or not, whether you have finished this chapter or not, whether you are going and meeting a boyfriend or not, like we talked in earlier sessions also. So, that is putting in control. But when it is coming to life out of control, that means we are not able to verify that efficacy in our own mind, which suits us. So, like you said, that when we were doing therapy, I said, I feel that I am not understood. Yesterday, somebody asked me, what hits you back? Is it the problem, or is it because you're anxious, so you're having that problem? Just as Sumita said, She was sent to a mental health specialist every time because the problem was not in accuracy with what others told her. So what happened was, and I said, see, I have this problem, and that is why I'm anxious about it. I'll put it in plain words. So he said, okay, now I get it. So that is when I and Anu were talking. I told her, I said, I feel that I am misunderstood. There is something going on with me which I'm not able to probably express it to the other people, and other people are not able to get it. It is not that I am having a problem, so I am having this symptom. It is I'm having this symptom, so this problem is troubling me. So if I put it, if I was having a problem and then I was trying to introduce symptoms, that would I would have been putting control over it. But when I'm having a certain symptom and I'm not able to express it, or I'm not able to verify that why is it happening in my mind, I feel that my life is going out of control.
Thank you so much. And that was really honest and to the point. Vasvi, have you how would you take it like when you are feeling out of control? This time it's not that you're controlling someone. When you're feeling out of control. Have you ever had an incident like that? What do you do at that point?
So I have felt like I'm out of control many times. Before maybe interviews, when I'm very, very panicky, I feel like I don't have control over anything. My breath is out. I'm not able to control my breathing. I felt agitated. I've also felt out of control if I'm placed in a situation in my life where I'm shocked or I'm feeling betrayed by my loved ones. It could be something very simple and unexpected, but I didn't expect that person to react to me in that way or to talk to me in that tone. I suddenly feel very helpless and out of control because I'm not able to control my reaction. And then that leads to maybe a very, you could call it a temper tantrum or something that makes me feel like I'm very helpless and powerless in that situation. So I think the more I'm understanding about controlling oneself is that there are two kinds of self control. One is if you're constantly thinking that your actions, like the outcome of your action, is not because of your action, is still because of some external circumstance. So, suppose something has happened in your life, and if your first inkling is to blame an external person or a situation for that outcome, then you're not able to take responsibility for your action. And the other thing is that if something good also happens in your life, like you get something good, you get an achievement, an award, even then you're in disbelief, or you are feeling that it's because of luck. You're not feeling it's your actions that have done that. You're still feeling I had no control over that award, it was because of luck or destiny or something else, like I didn't do anything. So that applies to both negative and positive situations. So if more and more we start being embodied in our being and being in the present moment and understanding that the outcomes are happening because of our actions, and we understand that, then the more in control we will feel instead of blaming things to the external environment all the time.
Thank you so much. Joanne, have you ever felt out of control?
Yes, what just came to mind is actually as a child having temper tantrums, which I think Vasvi just mentioned, and feeling out of control of my own emotions, but somehow that being seen as wrong, which made me want to control them, which made it feel even more out of control. So I think when it comes to the emotions, it's really about accepting that you may feel that you can't control them and that that's okay. It's like a wave and it's coming and going. I think that's
So
something
beautiful.
I'm also learning as a mum, just to allow my son to really just express those emotions.
Absolutely. So, Gopuji, what do you say about being out of control?
See, there have been many situations in my life when I have been thrown out of control.
So
You
beautifully said. Thrown
different
out.
perception, thrown
Yeah.
out of control. You were in control of a particular scenario or situation, and suddenly you find that somebody else has taken over and thrown you out of the driver's seat.
Yes.
So then you're not driving the car, somebody else is driving the car. This has happened to me in a big financial deal, and the person whom I was dealing with cheated me, he drafted an agreement which was pro, very much pro to his side, and that the people involved in that agreement with whom we were to deal with also turned to his side rather than to my side. So I was totally thrown out of gear. The people whom I was dealing with, uh, the other person took control of them by mesmerizing them or whatever you can call brainwashing them. There could be many terms for that. So who was in my side, they crossed over and went to his side. And I was literally thrown out of gear, out of control in this particular situation. But somehow, with a lot of uh, persuasion and talk and everything, and with God's grace, things got sorted out and got resolved. But that was a saga of 5 years.
Oh my
It was a
God.
long, yeah, yeah. So I was literally out of control in that situation. So
Wow.
it can happen to anyone. You got to be very careful as to what kind of decisions you take, what kind of people you deal with, and what is the strategy you got to make. That is how I learned strategy. Honestly, I have not done any course on strategy, but I've learned it by experience.
Wow. And I think experience always is bigger than any education that you can take from the book, because books come later. Your
Yeah, yeah.
experience comes.
What you have
Absolutely.
gone through is what you should put it in practice and follow that.
So, from what you all are saying, it feels like that when I am not comfortable in what's happening either to me or around me, and I cannot change it, is when I or you feel out of control. So there are many incidents, like we say in mental health, that there are stressful events that happen and that really throw us out of gear or out of our bus or out of the car and put us under the bus at times, and we don't know how to react to those situations. Now, I want to understand from my panel here, what do you do so that in those situations when things were just like, let's go back to Sumita. As a little child, when people were giving her that test to do, she really had that stomach pain. And for the child to tell him, hey, you know what, maybe you've gone into depression, the child doesn't understand those words. In fact, it's quite possible that we as adults want to fight these tags because not a nice tag to have. No, I mean, even today, cancer is has a status of getting you to a place where people will come and look at you and say, "Poor thing," and hold your hand. But if somebody comes to know you've got depression or anxiety, even today, and I see this all over me, it doesn't matter what education you have, people look at you as if you've gone, like, you need to be put in the asylum or something like that. So, Sumita, going back to your that experience that you had at that time, how did you cope up with it as a child? Because you were very little at that time.
Yes, Anu. So I would have a lot of temper tantrums. I did a lot of I would be fussy about eating, about a lot of things. So these were the ways I was just expressing. But I would say I don't know I did anything, but my mom and my dad, my sister, they were like three pillars to me. Whatever may happen, they took everything. They understood me so well that they accepted all my demands. And they never made me feel that you have some illness. My mom would always say, this is a phase, it'll pass off, but don't let this become your temper. Don't let this become your habit or behavior. It's okay right now because you're just doing it because you have this pain and you can't do it, but don't let this be a part of your life. And at that time I really didn't understand, but now I really get the meaning of it, what she meant. She actually meant that we are there to support you. Maybe there in life when you grow up people will not be there for support, or you will have to be that much strong enough to face the circumstances. So that phase really made me understand now when I look back, and the kind of support, the kind of love, even just not my from my family, my extended family. I was at my aunt's place for my treatment of the same thing, which went on for years. So the friends which I had at that time, every one of my school friends, she's still in touch with me. I hope she's hearing me out. So I remember every day when she would come, and that would be just my, went out kind of a thing. I would just have because she will tell me all what happened in the school. I was not going to school every day, and she would be my support whenever I would step in the school. She would say, "Don't worry." She would help me complete all my notes. And so people who are there for support, you feel so supported and loved, that that phase really passes out. So I think that is the way I coped up, because I had the support. Because
Wow.
no one, my family never made me really feel that I'm sick and ill. They all said it's just a phase. Don't worry, we will find out the best cure. Don't think that you've really gone. People could say that you are mentally unfit, but we know it's pain. Whatever is the connection, we don't know, but we will make sure that this pain will go away. And it really went off. So that
Wow.
assurance was very much required for me. Thank you.
Really? Wow. So, Rashmi, how did you cope up with it? Because you were saying the same thing to everybody. And that, I have this pain in my stomach. Anu, I have this belching. I have this burping. And it's probably still going on. It's probably still going on. It's not completely gone. And that was one of the reasons that we took up this challenge and said, if you can sit down for 1 hour, then you can sit down for a longer time. And complete acknowledgement for all the strength that Rashmi's pulled together to kind of say, no matter what, I will go on. Really, complete strength to her. So, how did you cope up? How did you cope up, Rashmi? Or how are you still coping up? Because after COVID, so mind you, guys, she came down with COVID and she was absolutely fine during COVID. She was quarantined for more than 25 days. She became creative. She did everything. Her whole family was okay. She quarantined herself at home. She ran herself and got the test done. So it's like she did everything for herself and then locked herself up in the room for more than 25 days. When she came out of that room, the last 2 months she's been struggling, guys, and I know many people out there are in the similar state. So when Rashmi speaks from her heart, this is connecting everybody out there who's probably having the same issues. So Rashmi, how did you cope up and how are you still coping up?
Anu, I was actually okay after COVID. After 15, 20 days, I was okay. Nothing it was going on. And then suddenly I had this a very typical kind of belching. It would end up into a gasp, and I would actually gasp to have breath, and then I would belch out, and my system was shutting down. Even I had at that time I had immense constipation also, that my system would not pass gas from any other end except from the throat. I was shutting down. I was trying to tell people that this is happening. So everybody would tell me it is anxiety probably that you are picking up. And I would tell them, I have anxiety. Now I'm developing anxiety because of this situation. When I had COVID, I was running 100, 200, 3 fever. I was sitting alone in the room and I was enjoying life because I knew that I would come out of it and I had trust in it. But this thing, which is very new to me, and I can't even express it to people how it is because I have not experienced it. People have not experienced it. They are not getting what I am getting. So I talked to several people who would come call me up, who would tell me how are you feeling, and in that process I also started losing weight. So people started thinking I had PTSD. I don't challenge their diagnosis, but my prime symptom was still there, which was troubling me and troubling me to an extent that right from the moment I would wake up in the morning till night I would sleep, I would have just this symptom. So coping up it was me was, first of all, I should acknowledge you, Anu. Anu was there with me throughout. I would talk to her even in the middle of the night. I have texted her, Anu, I'm not feeling well. I am not feeling myself. I can't breathe. I am not comfortable while breathing. It is some kind of flatulence which is disturbing my mechanism, but my breath is affected. She would come up, she would text me in the middle of night, sit with me, Anu would sit with me in the middle of the night and do whatever possible we did. Then there were many of my friends who would call me up and ask me. And sometimes I was also shutting down from my friends. And my homeopathic friends also, they would come up with me. And in that moment, I was shutting up from my friends. I wouldn't call them up. So some of my friends who are very understanding that I'm not a kind of person who would shut off from my friends, come what may. I would reply. If I wouldn't reply to them, to their messages in a day or in a couple of hours, they would turn back to me and then they would just text, hope you're okay. Then I won't reply. So after 2 or 3 days, they would try again and they said, you are doing a kind of behavior which is not your own behavior. So I told them, I said, I don't know, I'm not feeling as if I can explain things. Or I should say that I have started feeling two things. One, I'm not understood. And secondly, I am probably creating a problem for people because they might be thinking that, okay, she is trying to explain something when we're not trying to understand it. It's like if my child is asking for something and he's not able to explain it to me, I will go through that pain. I mean, why, what is he trying to say? Let me try to understand it. So I had started feeling this in two aspects. And it was a real support from all of my friends and Anu. I mean, Anu, I should call you. I mean, I can't call you a mentor. I should say you more than a friend to me. And then these programs were created just for the fact that I could sit for 1 hour. I couldn't sit even for 5-10 minutes during the therapies. Now I can sit for 1 hour, though I have a problem right now also. But I can manage myself to stretch for 1 hour.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, the key is support. Just like Sumita said, the key is someone or someone ready to say, I don't understand, but we can still give it a best try and a best shot. And maybe things will get okay, maybe they will not, but we're not giving up on you. So, Vasavi, how do you deal with the place where you feel like throwing a temper tantrum? Maybe you feel not understood. Maybe you feel that whatever it was, that when you're feeling out of control, how do you deal with it?
So, I think my biggest experience of temper tantrums was back in 2015. I was diagnosed with depression, and that was the year when I felt like I was constantly crying and I was constantly, I don't even know what I was doing. I was feeling helpless all the time, and anything could trigger this reaction in me, which in my mind seemed really big, like I'm overreacting. And I'm sure, and I think to people around me also, it seemed I was overreacting. So so I was completely out of control of my emotions. And what exacerbated it was that people around me were constantly telling me, how can you react like this? Or someone was saying, are you sure you don't want to be in an asylum? I actually even got that. Or are you sure like you're mad, or you need this? And I realized then that didn't really, that exacerbated it, because I started talking to myself in a really negative way. So one thing that helped me is that when you're feeling out of control, as Dr. Rashmi said, you feel very misunderstood. And I think at that point, it's like you need to be the one who reaches out that helping hand when you're inside that dark well. It's very difficult, but people will not do that. It's very rare for someone to actually come and do that for you, because you don't know what the other person is going through, or whether they are inside a well themselves, and maybe they're not equipped. So and so the thing is, it takes a lot, but the first thing is to not judge yourself, because before we think people are judging us when we're out of control, the first thing is we are judging ourselves. We are thinking there's no problem, we are thinking we are overreacting, we are thinking that there's no reason to cry, and that just makes us go even more out of control. So when we are able to be our own best friend in that situation, then slowly we feel more in control without trying to control anything. So that is what I think.
Beautifully said, Vasavi. So
Thank you.
beautifully said. You are so wise. It's not funny.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, Gopu sir. How do you cope up? How did you cope up with that 5 years? Somebody taking away, and taking away everything from you. And money is a big thing, guys. And
Yeah, that
a
was
big,
really
how did
big,
you cope?
big. Well, there were a lot of support systems in place. My family supported me. Some of my friends really supported me. And one of my friends, who is a very close friend of mine, he's like a younger brother. He lives in Hyderabad, and he also supported me financially, morally, and otherwise. He said, "Don't worry, things will turn around. Do this, this, this. This is the way to, go about it." And there were a couple of other people like that who were well connected people in the business field. One or two of my close friends. So they also advised me. My family stood totally by me, even though I had made a mistake. They covered up for me and they stood by me. You
Wow.
you imagine yourself in a situation where you have committed a huge mistake and still your family supports you and your friends support you. Like my some of my family members, what have you done? This is a huge mistake that you have made. Why did you enter into an agreement with such a fellow? Those kind of things I could hear from my own people. But then at the same time, as as the time passed, so sometimes you have to give time. Time is the healer for all this. So time will take. It may take time to sort things out by themselves. Certain times, even if you are out of control, you will get back to control with the help of people. Like Rashmi, how she said that, you were a pillar of support for her during the COVID times. I really appreciate your efforts and support, Anu, for that. Amazing. Uh, Similarly, I had about three to
Should
four people that in my life
in other words,
who
yes.
supported me. So that is what is required. Human beings should be always around you to support each other. They are the pillars who can help you come out of such situations. And I really love the way Vasi has also expressed her, issues here in this forum, and she has come out of it with flying colors. I really, she's such a bold and beautiful girl. Hats off to her.
Absolutely. Let's go over to Joanne. Joanne, how do you deal with when you're out of control? Like when as a child you would throw a temper tantrum and stuff, and maybe even now when you're in a land where you don't understand people and they don't understand you. How are you dealing with it right now? With the baby, everything. It's a
Yeah.
great place to be out of control.
Well, actually, I'd like to go back to childhood because what Samita and Vasvi have just shared has been a really big light bulb moment for me. Is that the reason for my temper tantrums?
Uh, I think it's the internet. Joanne? Okay, till she comes back.
Getting control. It's
Yeah,
a way of regulating ourselves. It's
you
so the only thing we can control is our own selves, our own emotional state. And what a tantrum is doing is saying, this is too much, I can't cope, let it all out. And then that self-regulation comes back. So that's just an amazing reframe for me. So thank you so much for sharing that.
brilliant. Thank you so much. Um, let's go with one more story, one more round before we call this talk off. And I want you to be very candid and share from your heart one time when you wished you could be there for someone who was out of control, but no matter what you did, the other person wasn't ready to receive. There was a wall there. It's not that you didn't want to help them, but there was a wall there and you just couldn't reach them. You knew you could help and you tried your best to help them, but something happened and it just didn't meet and didn't reach where it should reach. So, thank you so much. Uh, I'm very lucky. Somebody comes and gives me a cup of tea. So, Rashmi, over to you. Someone really wants your help. You know you can help. They are out of control. You can see it, you can feel it. But no matter how much you tried reaching them, there's a wall there and you don't know what to do. Talk about it.
I have been through these kind of situations many times in my life, in my married life, I should say. My husband would, I mean, I could see, and he really wanted help. He would ask me for help, but when I would give it to him, so he would create a wall. Probably that was his story, that he does not know how to take that help. But whenever want to give it, I mean, he asks for me, and then I want to give it, and then there is a wall. So I feel as if it's coming back. Oh God, I was walking to that place, it was just there, and it could have been sorted, and I'm pushed back. So this has happened many times in my life.
And how do you feel?
Earlier, I used to feel rejected. I used to feel what is happening because I did not know about it. But now I feel it's not a rejection. It is probably that he is not in that place where he can receive things. He has to come out of that place to receive. I want to tell you a short story. Um
Yes.
I was in ninth standard, and we had gone to Haridwar. So this to Johan, this is for Johan. This is a There's a temple on a mountain. So there is a ropeway there, and we decided to tell our father, me and my sister and my cousin aunt. We said we want to walk that place. We want to walk up the mountain till the temple. So he said, you will have to take the servant along. And we said, no, we want to go. We girls want to go on our own. We want to be bold. We want to see how we can manage things. So my father said, okay, you'll have to promise that you won't speak to the servant. The servant will keep an eye on you three girls. And we were not, I mean, I was in my teenage at that time. So the servant will keep an eye on you, and you guys will just walk and not take a help and not talk to him at all. So this is a deal. Then only you can go. We decided, okay, fine. On the midway, when we reached, we were thirsty. We didn't even take water. And we thought, okay, this way, it's just nearby. We'll reach over there. And that was a huge distance. And we had not analyzed that distance because we were just seeing the height. Oh, it's just there. So we asked for water, and in those days there were big pots of water, mud pots of water, and that person would give you water, and you take water like this, and you drink it. I'm talking about 30 years back, or 30. So this man, there was a man, and I asked him, I said, can you give me water? So he said in Hindi, thoda dharm karo. I said, I didn't know what is dharma. I just closed my hands, and dharma karo means be religious. So I just put my hands like this, looked towards the temple, prayed to God, and then again I told that man, please, can you give me water? Then again, he said, thoda dharma karo. The same sentence again. Then I would do it again. When it had happened thrice, I again asked water from him, and he said the same thing. I said, but what does dharma karo mean? Tell me. He said, give me money. I said, okay, you want money? I mean, dharam karo doesn't mean I have to pray at the temple. It means I have to pay you. Okay, fine, you can tell me I have to pay you. I went to my aunt, I said, give me some money. I want to pay him for water. I want water. I went and paid him. So sometimes we also don't know what we are receiving. If the person, if I had a reception of what dharm karo meant, I would have immediately gone and paid him and take the money. Probably we don't know when we are receiving from people how to receive.
Possible. Possible. A very beautiful story there. Yes, absolutely possible. So, Vasavi, has there been ever a time when you wanted to uh, really help someone, go out of your way? They were out of control and you reached them, but you
So,
couldn't reach.
yeah, there has been. I think so. I think my parents, both my parents, while I was growing up, they're two beautiful human beings. They're just incompatible with each other. And so I have seen a lot of friction and tension in their relationship as a child and even as a teenager. And after the tension or the fight, I would see both of them in a space where they both were feeling very helpless and out of control. This was maybe when I was a child and as a teenager, and I remember it was like a daily effort where I felt that I would try and reach out to my mother and my father when they felt out of control, or they really didn't have any control over they were feeling that they are just not in a good situation. And there was a point, what I realized is that either the person who is feeling that way is not ready to receive at that moment. So if you yourself are not, if your cup isn't full, like of whatever you need, then don't go out of the way to help. This is what I think, because when my cup wasn't full and if I went out of the way to help them, they were not in a position to receive it. So it would, they might have unintentionally lashed back or unintentionally put their wall up even more. So I feel this was something, it wasn't personally about me at all. It was just the situation they were in. And because they were in that situation and I could not understand the gravity and what they were feeling, so I feel it's good to try and help when the person is feeling out of control and tell them that you're there. But if you yourself are not in a position to help, I don't think you should go out of the way to help, because then you'll have two people who will be out of control instead of one. Because then what happens is when you want to help and you're not able to, you feel helpless, and then you become the one who's out of control. So it's a cycle. And then maybe when they are feeling they can help you, then you are the one who's feeling out of control and you don't want to receive from them. So I think it's about being there for your loved ones is very important, and telling them that you're there is very important. But if they're not able to receive, I feel it's very wise to just not force it. This is what I think.
Very good. You can't force help on anyone. So, Joanne, what do you think about the whole step? I mean, so beautifully Vasvi's expressed. Have you ever had a person in your life who was out of control? You really wanted to help this person, but you couldn't. You reached there. You even
Yeah.
reached there. You even gave him a glass of water to drink, but you couldn't put it down their throat. Thank you.
Yes, I've got one sitting next to me right now, and I'm challenged with this nearly every day. He will be having an upset, a tantrum, a need, and sometimes I can help and I can soothe him and calm him, and I'm in a good place. And sometimes it just triggers something in me and it escalates, and I feel myself having, I think they call it a mum tantrum, so the child tantrum and the mum tantrum. And that's really about my own space. That's actually nothing to do with him at all. That's how am I coping, and what's it bringing up for me. So that's something I'm really working on every day.
So, so beautifully said. Yes, Gopuji, do you have someone you want to reach out to? You almost reached out to that person. You even held their hand. They probably even took your hand, but you couldn't keep holding it because they weren't ready to hold your hand forever.
No, you won't believe it. Once I had set a goal for myself that I should help 5 people in a week. 5 people in a week. And I used to go out and openly tell this in public before social media, I'm talking about. Before even social media came into our life, wherever I used to go and talk, I used to end my speech by saying, how can I help you? And my goal is to help 5 people a week, which means almost technically, if you count the weekends out, one person a day. And you wouldn't believe it, I almost achieved that in the
Wow.
in the coming next 3 years. I was able to do that.
What a brilliant idea. What a brilliant idea that I want to help in whichever way 5 people.
Yeah. So I always used to say, my 5 magic words are, how can I help you? Try this. Whenever you go out and tell people, how can I help you? They will be floored and they would want to, align with you, talk to you, understand you. Things will, doors will open up for you when you say those five magical words. So I was able to do this for about 3 years. So which means technically I almost achieved about 1,000 people, helping 1,000 people in three and a half years. So
Wow.
it's a way of life, nothing short of that. Anybody who wants help, I help my maids, I help whoever comes across in my life. I help people on the road, I help people who want a school admission, people who want a job. Recently, in COVID time, can you believe it? One girl who was introduced to me by my friend, actually almost like my sister. Uh, my sister called me. She's not my blood sister, my Raki sister. She called me over to the nearest garden. She said, "Gopu, can you come over to the garden today evening? I want to introduce you to a girl who is in trouble." I said, "Okay." So I went across to the garden. So she introduced to me with this middle-aged girl who had a very ailing mother and had her husband had left her and with a son who was in college, 16 years old. So and she was crying. I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, uh, she called me Anna. Anna means brother in Tamil. So she said, "Anna, I've lost my job. I was working for Jet Airways. I don't have money to pay the fees for my son, and I have to take care of my ailing mother. What do I do?" So I said, "Don't worry. Give me your CV. I will try my best to help you to get a job. Secondly, as far as your son's fees is concerned, okay, I will give you some money, some part of it. You go to the principal of the college and tell her your story, and if she agrees, you for a payment in installments over a period of 1 year, I'm sure she will agree. Go and talk to her and come back to me." She went to that principal. 3 days later, she called me, "Anna, you are absolutely right. She's agreed that I can pay in three installments. And thank you for the money that you gave me to help." And you won't believe it, in 6 months' time, she's got a job and she is grateful to me for life.
Wow.
What more
Wow.
do you want? You don't have to do anything else. People will keep blessing you if you could do such things in your life.
Wow. That's so amazing. So I would really, today's talk has been very, how do you say, it brought about a lot, that you have a possibility of being in control, and it's not about control, it's at the end of it about support. At the end of it, if you have the right kind of resources, you have the right kind of people standing by you, then no matter how much your life is out of control, and of course you need to stand by yourself. If you give up on yourself, then nobody on this planet earth is going to stand by you. But if you stand by yourself, maybe, and you decide not to give up, there is a way out. The last question for the whole panel is, so many children who are getting out of control and taking their lives. They feel that there is nothing there to live for. What would you say to them, Vasavi?
Um, okay. So I think when you take your life, or when you feel like you're taking your life, I empathize with you. That's what I would say. I understand why you're feeling like that. It's not a wrong, it's not a feeling that's to be minimized. And I think you're taking that very big action because you feel that's the only action you have control over. You feel like you can't do anything else, so that's the only thing you can do. But what I want like to say is that that's not true. That's how you're feeling. You're feeling that that's the only action that you can take because there's nothing else, or no other action of yours is got any worth attached to it. But what I would like to say is, one thing, stop being the spectator in your own life. I feel when you're feeling like that, you feel like you're not really living your life. You're just watching it happen. So So what I want to say is that, in fact, there's this quote from this romantic comedy. It's this movie called The Holiday. And in this movie, the director tells one of the main actresses that in the movies, we have leading ladies and we have the best friend. You, I can tell, are the leading lady, but you're behaving like the best friend, like the sidekick. So what happens is, in our life, we are the leading lady or the leading man in our stories, but we just give up that role. And I feel that if you take that role again and you live your life like you are the leading lady or the leading man in your movie of your life, then things will open up for you.
You know, Vasvi, I'm going to say this how it's coming. I know your parents had fights, and I know that was tough on you. But I really, really acknowledge the wisdom in you. And I really, really acknowledge that understanding within you, where you began with not making anything wrong or right. There is a difference between understanding and making something wrong or right. So I think you become wiser beyond years. If you do have a line or two to say at the end in the poetry, that would be wonderful, but I leave it completely to you. If you have something, I would really like to hear that. Sumita, over to you with the same question.
So, to all the children who are out there, like I said, I had two of my clients going through this, and it was really, like you said, you want to reach them, you want to help them, you're not able to do that. So, definitely take charge. I would say, life doesn't end there where you think life has ended. If you get into little bit action also, wherever you get that support and wherever you can connect to anybody, it is just not a connection which has to be from a professional. Wherever you can vent out, I think that step ahead can be taken. And in fact, both of these places where I felt that I couldn't do this because I'm being a professional, and their parents just said that you can take money but we can't come in. So I would I mean, that was my intention, was definitely to help them, and I could get a message that I'm fine. Actually, during COVID times, I was more worried for these two clients of mine, and they were young children. So I got the message from them, we are doing fine, thank you for whatever way you wanted to help. So I think somewhere they understood my intention, and they got some support. So sometimes, like you said, you are there to help, you are not able to help, but somewhere when your intention is there, there would be somebody helping them out, and if that happens, that's the best way.
Wow, beautiful. What would you say, Joanne, to all those children or adults who are right now maybe standing at the brink of life and death? They don't want to exist anymore because life is so out of control that the only way they can control it by taking their life.
So I think building on what Samiti you just said is about sharing and being open and having somebody to communicate with. It's so important not to feel alone with these feelings and to really just ask the question, so what's led you to this? So by discussing it, you can get a different perspective or many different perspectives. And what's your intention by trying to take your life? What are you wanting to achieve? What are you wanting to gain? Because there will be other ways of achieving that and getting what you really desire, whether that's love, connection, understanding, or all of that for yourself. There'll be another way of getting there.
Thank you so much. Rashmi, what about you?
Anu, there are two aspects to it. One are people who are going through it, who are sensible enough to understand what you're saying. For them, the take help wherever it is required. Stop, take help. Like Vasvi said the other day, we have to be vulnerable. We should allow our vulnerability that, okay, help is required. This, I have to stop. It's like a speed breaker in life at that moment. And go and take professional help, friendly help, or whatever, but from the right person. And that you have to choose, because you have to decide who's the right person for you. by preaching or by telling somebody that you don't do this, this doesn't happen. This has to come from within. Number two, I have people who were, I had had a child of 7 years who was suicidal. And a 7-year-old child having thoughts of suicide, nobody in her house has ever decided about suicide. This is a very interesting case study. And I asked the parents, I said, do you talk about it? She said, no. And not even only suicide, she had other thoughts also. Like she had sexual thoughts, she had other thoughts also. And this lady would say, this girl would say, I just want to commit suicide. She didn't even know the meaning of suicide, but I want to commit suicide. So when I probed their history, I found out that both the parents, the child was born out of a wedlock, but not out of love. They had no relationship 7 years, since 7 years even before their marriage. So she was not born out of love. She was an IVF baby. They just decided on that they did have to have a baby. That's it. So this thing, when I picked it up, I started thinking, why is she having suicidal thoughts? Then the same story came in the grandparents, both their side. And when I worked on it, I found out the child is not has is having these thoughts, but which are not hers. So getting a right kind of help at that moment is very important. And this was a lesson which I would like to tell parents as well as people who are going through it. Like the way I kept telling everybody, I said, I want help. I'm not well. And somebody would say after giving me, are you feeling better now? I would say, no, I'm not feeling better now. There is something amiss. I have to find that miss. And it's my responsibility to find what is missing. And come what may, I will take help. That was a decision I made that other day. Thank you.
Very well said. Very well said. Gopu sir, what would you tell a child or an adult who is at the brink of life and death?
I would first of all say you have no right to take your life because the creator has made you for a purpose. The creator has made you for a purpose and you have not yet fulfilled that purpose. So why do you want to take your life? You don't know what's coming ahead of you. You don't know what's coming ahead of you. So you need to give it some time. Give it time, and time will heal it. So that would be my advice. And secondly, I always say one sentence to everyone who has such thoughts. Life is beautiful. Enjoy it. Life is beautiful. Enjoy it. Keep repeating this, and you will understand that life is really beautiful. Only thing that you are seeing it from a darker side. That's it.
So, what would I do? I would give a hug to this person and sit down. And probably we could go drinking on that day. And maybe we could say all kinds of stuff that we had to, or even say the bad words and say, what the hell? You know, life is all about, if you're going to die, let's at least have a drink before dying. Let's at least have fun before dying. Yeah, so that you at least remember the last day of your life in a fun way. So, the different perspectives, and I would really ask Gopu sir and Vasavi, because they are very talented, if they can sing. Gopu sir can sing, Vasavi can say a poem, because they're very good, and the other three, if you have anything that you can, a quote or a poem or something that comes to your mind. So Vasavi, can you?
So yes, I have this poem. It's actually I think it fits the control theme. So I'll just say it. It's called I Tried. I'll just yeah. I tried to hold my fate in my fist. I clenched it so tight with my fingers that my nails pierced my skin and my veins could hardly breathe. But my fate flew away like effortless breeze. Better late than never, I began to see a slippery eel that unravels its secrets with time. And so, after holding my breath firm, jaw taut, eyes clenched shut, with an extreme cautiousness, I unfastened my fist. A gradual ceremony it was, grand like the opening curtain that reveals a majestic production. My knuckles crackled loose one at a time. My empty palm was so very full, with work at hand. I let breath do the breathing. I let time do the flowing. I let myself do the working. That was the poem. And one more
Amazing.
line I end with. It's just four lines from this poem. I wrote, please write this on my epitaph, like on my tombstone. I written this. And the ending lines is, I refuse to be timed by steely or stone, or to be contained in an urn of ash. What is a life if not passing through?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing. You brought tears to my eyes.
Thank you. That
Thank you.
means a lot.
Thank you. Gopu sir, one song.
Yeah, first of all, Vasu's very lovely poem. I was really moved by your words. Really, very, very well written, I must say.
Thank you so
So,
much.
I'm going to sing a small song about life. It's in Hindi, so probably Joan may not understand, but we will send her a link with the
Just
translation.
matter. Yeah. And Joanne is
Yeah,
such a beautiful, it doesn't
yeah.
matter. She understands.
जिंदगी का सफर है एक ऐसा सफर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं जिंदगी का सफर है एक ऐसा सफर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Sumita, anything you have? Maybe a quote or something.
I think one of the happiest moments and the best moments of your life is when you let go of the things, and and you can, and you don't need to really change that. You accept that, and you just go with the flow. So I always tell myself, when I feel that I'm going into that state, so I always say, let it be. So let it be and just enjoy. Something will come out.
Wow. What about you, Rashmi?
Anu, I have a small poem. I had written it ages back, maybe 30, 35 years back. I'm
Wow.
trying to remember it. Let me see how much I remember it. I was just jotting it down. Up above the lofty hills rises a little stream with a burning passion to meet the sea. That's life. Why we are born. Dancing up and down, playing all around, on its way to the sea. Calmness takes its place in the youth's race, on its way to the sea. With all the wisdom and lore, with all, I've just forgotten, I'm so sorry. With all the wisdom and lore, it finally reaches the sea, merges with the sea, and bees what it had to be and what it has to be. Thank you.
Wow. So beautiful. So beautiful. What about you, Joanne? Would you like to say something? Thank you.
Just to say thank you to everybody. It's been amazing talking with you, and thank you. I have to say to Kwaku for being so patient. He really wants to play.
He's wonderful. Kwaku, you are so amazing. Okay, I'm going to play for you guys. Yeah, I'm going to play for you
Thank
guys
you.
Big Bowl. And so that the energy that we've been carrying today was very heavy energy. Out of control is not an easy energy to deal with. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about why do we constantly blame ourselves or others. And that's going to be the topic, and we'll be doing our talk at 5 instead of 4 because tomorrow is a real busy day for me and I don't know how everything is going to fit in. So, but that's how we will go. So, can we all just breathe? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Anu.
Extremely, extremely grateful. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Annie.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Gopu
Thank you,
sir.
everyone.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you, Kweku. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.